Well, good evening. Happy Tuesday, and I hope you have tacos. I do. I'm a bit happy about that. It's been a while. I've been off nursing a throat that is still not exactly all the way better. So hopefully you'll give me a little grace for sounding like Milda, those of you that know Spanish, both not very well. Um, But there's so much to cover. I just thought I'd rough it through. I planned on being here yesterday, and that did not work out very well. Um, but I did stream on Sunday, and it was hella fun. But I threw it out again. And I'm glad. Okay, so the mic sounds good. Thank you, Juju. I was just going to ask everyone how I sounded out there, if I was breaking up or anything. Hey, Shill. Thank you for being here also. Thank you guys for modding after I've been away for so long. I know it's been a crazy schedule, so I really do appreciate you, and all of you that have come in the chat. We got a lot to cover today. I planned on doing this in two because there's so much, but we're gonna do it in one today. So if I go too fast, tell me to hit the brakes, okay? Yeah. But hey, Tony, how are you? It's nice to see everybody. All right. So from the thumbnail up tonight, we've got Duane Davis, Keffe D, accused of the murder of Tupac Shakur. We've got Alex Jones, infamous defamer from InfoWars, who is on the hook for like $1.7 billion from three separate law cases in Connecticut and Texas. And we're going to talk about the shenanigans that he's up to. And then we have the recent confession. Yes, confession to which he's not being tried for from Joran Von Der Sloot in the Natalee Halloway disappearance and murder from 2005. A lot of the two murder cases are old, 25 and 27 years old. Old, like old. Um, what is it, like 18 years for Holloway and 27 on Tupac? Very long time, very long time. So let's just get right to it. I'm gonna start. Let's just start with Tupac. All right. First, I always like to talk about the victim. And Tupac lost his life 27 years ago in a drive-by shooting. He was in a black BMW with his mate, Suge Knight. They were in Las Vegas for a fight. There was all this gang affiliation on both sides. Tupac belonged to Mob Piri, which is kind of an offshoot of the Bloods, and apparently the white Cadillac people who pulled up, the alleged ones, which Duane Davis admits to being in the car, were part of an organization that was more Crips oriented. So there was also the difference between Death Row Records and Suge Knight's records, which was, P. Diddy owned one and Suge Knight owned the other. And there is allegations that it was a whole blood Crips kind of thing with the record companies and everything, and everybody was just behaving badly. But the white Cadillac opened fire on the black BMW. Tupac was hit, I believe, 6 or 7 times, and he actually died several days later from his wounds. The only two surviving people involved in this altercation are Suge Knight from the BMW and Duane Davis, Keffe D, from the white Cadillac. I'd also like to say that in our last stream, there was discussion about Jada Pinkett Smith. In some information that I want to clarify here, Jada Pinkett Smith is not his sister. She's very close to the sister, and they were giving statements at the same time. And I may have misspoke and said that Jada Pinkett Smith was his sister. No, she's not. She's actually the high school friend and love interest, like really close buddies, like very, very, very close, tight. since they were kids. Okay. Jada Pinkett Smith lately has been making rounds in the media, doing press and everything about how, they almost got married when he was in jail and blah, 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 blah. So it became like there was much more information to add. And I want to make sure that that's clear, that she's not his sister. Um, just like, thanks everybody who's coming in. Mousy, I thought you went to bed, but hello, thank you for being here. Beck, it's good to see you too, Commander. But anyway, I'm going to get the questions and stuff, and as we go through, I'll try to keep track. Okay. Do me a favor. If you have a question, can you at me, please? It's much easier to see the bright orange, and especially when I'm trying to do like 3 things at once. So, all right. So Duane Davis, Keffe D. He was indicted by Clark County grand jury almost 30 years. It's 27 plus. After the crime. He's been charged with 1 count of open murder with use of a deadly weapon with a gang enhancement in the September 1996 shooting death of Tupac Shakur. He is the only alive occupant of the white Cadillac. There were 3 other people in the vehicle, one claiming to be his nephew and 2 others. This, let me just check something here. I thought there was more to this. Okay. This is Steve Wolfson, the Clark County DA, and the charging statement came from him. I have a couple of articles to share with you that have videos in them of the statements from this district attorney. Because really what happened is kind of like, he is definitely in custody. He was arrested at the end on September 29th, Jujubee. He was arrested then. June 29th, he was arrested. He's been held in jail. They tried to have an arraignment expediently within the days that are required on October 4th. And at that point, he said that he had his lawyer, his lifelong lawyer that he's had for all his gang dealings and whatnot. His name was Edie Fail, Faal, and he was unable to attend the arraignment, so they postponed it to October 19th. And on October 19th, we had to postpone it again because apparently Edie Fail is not going to be his attorney. Okay. This was the explanation from Steve Wolfson, that the case had remained cold for decades. Remember, we were talking about this, like, why after 27 years are they bringing this forward, And so we definitely wanted to research that a little bit more because it seems so odd. I mean, this man, Duane Davis, has been talking a lot for years, okay? And we knew that he had cooperated with the FBI. Now, that's federal. This is an important point to make here. He cooperated federally with the FBI in regards to information back and forth and was not prosecuted. There was not enough information there. He did give information to them and he got some kind of a deal, I would assume, that may or may not have included immunity. However, we don't have those records, so we're not going to say for sure. But we know that there was a deal, okay? And it was a federal deal, okay? But the problem is Steve Wolfson is from the Clark County DA's office, state of Los Angeles, Las Vegas, okay? No, state doesn't have to follow whatever federal did. They get to do what they want. And there is no statute of limitations in that state for murder. Okay. They are saying that this case was remained cold for decades until reinvigorated, and that's in quotes, back in 2018 when new information came to light. And they said specifically Duane Davis's own admissions to his involvement in this homicide investigation that he provided to numerous different media outlets. If you recall, the last time we spoke, we talked about Duane Davis being part of the documentary about the mob, about the gangs in LA at the time in the music industry, and that he spoke about it then. How he wrote his own book about being the head of that gang and the things that he did, and mentioned it again in there in great detail. And most recently, at the end of 2019, did an interview where he actually said he purchased the gun that was used to kill Tupac. And he was in that vehicle, in the back seat, or in the seat, in the front seat. Okay. He was in that vehicle. He's the only one still alive. He has admitted to be an accessory to the crime. And as we explained before, he didn't have to pull the trigger to go down for murder on this. In his own statements are what opened this up. Him flaunting it in front of the state officials. Now, there are rumors that there is a proffer with the LA Police Department detectives. Now, I'll just tell you what an actual proffer definition. Okay, a proffer agreement is a written contract between, federal prosecutor and a defendant. Okay, but this they're saying there was one with the state. Okay, now no one is admitting that. Not the DA's office, nobody else. This is reporters that are asking this question. I've heard it in every time anybody went to talk to either the attorney for Duane Davis or the district attorney's office, they were mentioning this proffer. Okay. The proffer agreement was federal. It's normally federal, and it's a written contract between the federal prosecutor and a defendant or a person under criminal investigation, where that person agrees to provide the prosecutor with useful information. And those statements that they provide will not be used against them in future criminal proceedings. Now, the reason that's important is it matters a lot whether it was a federal proffer or if it actually was the LAPD detectives, which the media keeps mentioning, the LAPD detectives. Now, they're state, right? They are not federal, okay? The benefits of a proffer are you can give the information and you don't have to actually, prosecute on it, but you get all the information perhaps to prosecute others, okay, or to actually find out what happened, okay. And the reason that I bring that up is because it keeps getting mentioned. And not everybody knows exactly what it is. Okay. It's not exactly a plea. You're not admitting guilt to anything. You are providing information. So a proffer is different than a plea deal or an arrangement. You're not being charged with anything. It's when you're under criminal investigation and you're giving further information, and that information can't be held against you. Okay, this is the interesting part. This is why, my fellow murder minions in the chat, we're going to be following the Duane Davis trial because Ross Goodman has entered the building. And Ross Goodman is an LA attorney. And you may not know this name, but he is the son of Oscar Goodman, who is a notorious mob attorney. Like famous, well connected. We know mob attorney. So you know my fascination. There it is. This man's very well spoken. I'm going to drop a couple of articles for you. I want you to go check out what he had to say. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it, but he's well spoken, he's suave, and he knows a little bit about all the back roads. I am definitely intrigued to find out what happens here because Ross Goodman came forward after the arraignment on October 19th, last Thursday, which lasted, and I kid you not, 9.5 seconds because Ross Goodman was there. He told the judge, I'm his lawyer, but I'm not his lawyer. I'm going to be his lawyer, but we haven't made the deal yet. I need 2 weeks to settle with my client so we could do a proper arraignment and talk about bail. And the judge went, again? Okay, I'm going to give you 2 weeks. But if you don't make an arrangement with Mr. Davis, we're going forward with trial and he's getting a state defendant, a defense attorney by the state. That's it. we're going forward in 2 weeks. Like none of this, because on October 4th, his first attorney couldn't be there, and now he's showing up and he's got this mob-related attorney's son here, who's also I wouldn't say he's a mob attorney. I would say perhaps he learned a little bit from dad. Dad definitely is in the history books as a mob attorney. Oscar Goodman is a mob attorney. Okay, but Ross Goodman, he's been on both sides, but I do believe that, he's had some cases. He has had some cases, and I'm intrigued. Hey, Anna, good to see you too. Let me see. I'm glad you guys are intrigued too. Juju, like I'm just like got more excited about this case, not only because it's so damn old. Well, here's the interesting things that Ross Goodman said, and I'm kind of on the same page with him. Okay, so we know Duane, may I call him by the first name? Duane Davis came out and actually said he was in the car, accessory to murder. He had the gun. He provided the weapon that killed Tupac Shakur. That's all been stated out in public everywhere. But you know what those are? Extrajudicial statements. They are outside of the court. He did all of this outside of the court, right? Outside of the court, which means to use it inside of the court, they have to have some collaborating evidence, because just his statement doesn't mean it's so. Because let's be clear, Duane Davis is an admitted gangster. And, well, truth is not something they're actually known for. And Ross Goodman laid it out for everybody in the press after this arraignment. Hey, he may have had good reason to lie. There may be reasons. I mean, I can't tell you what they are right now because I'm not actually his lawyer. But I can tell you he's going to plead not guilty, and he does believe he can go against these charges. And, things have to be proved, because it doesn't really matter what he said. He could have been lying. And my jaw hit the floor. A man who has stated that he has been totally involved with this from day one is now going to go to court and say, hey, maybe I was pulling your leg. What are you going to do about it? Talk about intrigued. I mean, do I sound a little happy? I mean, we've got mob, we've got gangsters. I am really here for Tupac. It would be nice to put this to bed and know what's really, really done. Yep. Thank you there, Mippet. Hello. There we go. Thank you, Mippet. But I have to say, I am intrigued now with the new players that have entered. First of all, Wolfson's known to be a bit of a card himself. He kind of knows the way of the ganglands there. But I'm telling you, the evidence that they have. And here's the other thing Ross Goldman says. They don't have the gun. They don't have the car. They don't have any witnesses. Everybody's dead. It's going to be interesting. Yeah. Contempt of court would be nice, Anna, if he knew all along, but there is that proffer. We know he negotiated with the FBI in the beginning, so we don't know if that's the proffer they're talking about, but we're going to find out. I mean, it's all going to be laid out. And it does seem that this judge feels that this case has been sitting around too long. Wolfson tried to explain the reasons why, as to they needed to make sure everything was in place. When they did actually go and raid his home before he was arrested, and they were looking for articles. I mean, the list of things that they took out are like all these articles that he saved and everything in regards to all of his own statements. When I say he, I mean Duane Davis has said to the public, to the media, to everybody, he has put out himself in regards to this murder. And I am hoping that everything goes according to plan and they actually put it through. But it seems like this judge really wants to keep this going straight through and quickly. He's given him already 4 weeks more than is usually before an arraignment. And unfortunately, Duane Davis has had to sit in jail this whole time as he waits, because he needs to be represented by an attorney for the arraignment. And after he is arraigned, then they can do whether they're going to do bail or not. The seriousness of the charges was a commit upon arrest, and then they have to have a bail request and hearing. Mr. Goodman's already said he's not a threat to the area. He's lived in the same town for the last 11 years with no problem. He's no longer in that business over there. He's just doing his thing. He's not a threat to anybody. However, the charges say that he organized a hit on Tupac, that he is responsible, that he was leading the gang that was doing the retaliation against him, and that it was his direct orders. Now, this is what the prosecution has to actually prove, that it was his order that ordered it. Okay, if they're going to say that, but that's not what they're saying. They're saying that he got the gun, he set the climate, he was in the car. Those are all corroborated already by Duane Davis's own statements in print, in writing, multiple times, orally and written, repeatedly for years. So it's quite interesting. It's also quite interesting that the LAPD finally stepped up and didn't let him keep pushing this in their face. I could see there might be a little bit of a sour grapes here. You know, they might might be a little bit of a interesting situation developing here. But anyway, when you get a connected lawyer like this, I have to tell you, okay, just to finish it up. Here's the last part. That second arraignment is delayed 2 weeks, okay? And he's been detained, just as they said. I knew there was another slide in there somewhere. But let me just check for questions, and then we're gonna move on to the next one because we got a bunch. Hey, Mrs. Cassandra. Thank you for coming to Mod. I know I've been MIA, and Mippy too. Thank you. I thank all of my mods and all of you that came to talk to me today for coming back. No, I don't think he's related. Okay, nope, he's not related to John Goodman. It's Oscar Goodman, the famous mob attorney. Just look up Oscar Goodman's cases. It's lit, Tony. It's all infested in Las Vegas mob history. It's a treat. I shouldn't be so happy about these, but I kind of am, and I can't hide it. It's intriguing, Okay. Yep, Anna, I agree. Contempt of court charges would be good since he's flaunting it. That would be very interesting. Always Grateful says Goodman is considered the go-to lawyer in Vegas. Which one? Junior? Is Ross? Is Ross as good as Oscar? Because Oscar was phenomenal. Yep. I don't know. Okay. Yep, the Teflon Don said that too. Yes, Anna, he did, and we finally got him, right? They finally got him. They did. I am feeling better. Thank you so much, Commander. I'm feeling much better. It is good to see everybody, I'll tell you that. Okay. Oh, good. Oh, good, always, because I'm glad to hear that. She says that Ross actually rivals Dad's reputation. I'm hoping, as I do more research on his case, that we can actually just have maybe we can in the Discord have a legal mob drama conversation about some of these cases because they were all pretty famous. Yeah. Mm. Thank you, Jude. It's good to be talking true crime. Welcome back. You know what? It is for me. I don't know. Don't get all sappy, people, but I've actually missed you. Yeah, I've actually missed talking about this. It's been hard keeping all this in my head. Like really. So if I sound a little too exuberant, it's just all bubbling out. It's all I can say. It's just all bubbling out. Yeah. So, all right. So, are you ready to move on? Let's do that. Let's move on to the next one because we've got to talk about this guy. Yes, the angry Alex Jones. Unfortunately, yeah, we got to talk about Alex Jones. Don't hate me, people, but we need to. This is insane what he's doing right now. Actually, it's not insane because I don't expect anything more from such a low-minded individual is all I got to say. Anyway, brief recap. Alex Jones, we reported on these, months and months and months ago, that the courts of Connecticut and Texas had ruled that Jones intentionally defamed the relatives of the school children killed in the mass shooting at Sandy Hook. And he ordered Jones, all of these judges ordered a combined amount of damages of about $1.5 billion. Okay. If you'll recall, Alex Jones took to the airs immediately after the last judgment and said the Sandy Hook parents and survivors would not get a penny, none of their money. He actually went up there and he said, people send me your money. I can guarantee no one in Sandy related to the Sandy Hook judgment is going to get his dime. He said that. Okay. Yeah. And then he went and in December filed personal bankruptcy to protect himself. And then recently, in July, he filed bankruptcy again for InfoWars, the business. Okay. So that says filed bankruptcy in July of 2023. That's the second bankruptcy that he filed. Okay. And I'm beside myself because here's the little nut you need to know. He's on the air now, still making money while he's trying to say he doesn't have money to pay the judgments. But InfoWars makes $70 million a year. And even if he only paid half of that out to the survivors, as he should for the rest of his damn career, until it drives him insane having to write those checks. As a matter of fact, I think it would be great if he had to write a check a day for the rest of his life, signing them personally for all of the crap that he said about everybody since 2012. He tortured them. He belittled them. He made it like it never happened. The loss of their children. What the biggest mass shooting we have ever had. And he tried to pretend it didn't exist and actually ridiculed, humiliated, belittled. He made a fortune on it with all the stupid idiots that believed it. And I'm saying that, and I'm not taking that back. Stupid to deny facts. Cruel to torture the parents of dead children. Cruel, obnoxious, low. I don't have enough adjectives, people. I'm usually a wordsmith, but I do not have enough adjectives for Alex Jones and everyone who believed that bullshit. Okay, that just got demonetized. I don't actually care. He should have to write a check every damn day. Cruel, exactly, Juju. Cruel is an understatement, an absolute understatement. And the gall. I'm going to file bankruptcy. One of the richest men in media, and I'm going to file bankruptcy so they don't get a penny. Well, here comes Alex Jones's nightmare. Judge Christopher Lopez, everybody, I want to see claps, cheers, smiles, something in the chat, please, for Judge Christopher Lopez, who just ordered that at least the jury judgment of $1.1 billion in all three of those charges cannot be written off in any bankruptcy, and that the families can go forward with their collection procedures against him in his companies, meaning he may have to sell all of this stuff at their bequest to settle it, and they don't have to settle for pennies on a dollar. He wanted them to take pennies after all 11 years of him mouthing off. And you know he still is too, right? You know he's still doing it to this day. Well, that judge set up. The only problem is the reason the difference is between the 1.5 billion total settlement and 1.1 billion that's protected is $500 million that were penalties, attorney's fees, and punitive damages. And Judge Lopez is going to have a separate trial, and he's going to hold to decide if those punitive damage and fees can be written off, because apparently if he can prove if it was malicious, now they already proved it was intentional, that he had the information that it was false and he went for it anyway. They already proved that in the lawsuits. Okay, now if they can prove malicious intent and cruelty, then those punitives can't get written off either. And I'm hoping for that too. But at least the original judgments, that the juries all individually in the two Texas cases and the one in Connecticut, they are all protected. These families can start to get their money coming in. They can start those proceedings. And Alex Jones has egg on his face again and is known as the biggest asshat in America. Okay. As an American, he should be shamed because that is just cruel what he is doing. And then, well, he says, oh, I'm just using the laws. Like, you're stupid if you don't use the law to protect yourself in bankruptcy and all. No, there's such a thing about morality and integrity and like being just a decent human being. And you did it, dude. And you know you did it. And like, you should have settled and you wouldn't be in this mess. Okay. You should have just settled and gave them whatever. You should have shut up, is what you should have did. You should have zipped it after you got sued. But no, you're not. And you want to use these loopholes. And I'm glad that instead of a loophole, they're actually winding it back around your neck and squeezing your pocketbook even tighter. And I hope more people come forward and sue Alex Jones since he thinks he knows what he can do about it and he's never going to have to pay a dime. Let's make him work for it. Let's make him work for it. I only hope that more people come out. I only hope more get involved in the misinformation track and making people accountable for the crap that comes out and the damage that they do. I really do. Okay, that's enough soapboxing on it. Sorry, not sorry, lovelies, but that just had to be done. That had to be done. Okay. A billion can't be written off in bankruptcy. A billion. Get out here with your bankruptcy. Exactly. He wanted it all written off. Okay. As an American, I do not claim this SOB. I know, Mrs. Cassandra, I'm with you. I'm with you. Alex doesn't have any integrity. He spews lies for the Kremlin. You know what? I wonder how American he is. Is he actually American? He shouldn't have said it. I'm glad he hasn't gone through that with his own. I'm glad he hasn't either. But you know what? He just wow, wow, he just doesn't get it. He needs to be exiled to space prison whenever it's created. Yes, let's make him Elon Musk's problem. Well, it's like Elon needs something to do. Let him solve the Alex Jones problem. If he is bankrupt, doesn't his earnings have to go towards paying off his debts? Yes, but that's what he was trying to do. Prove that this should be written off because it was extraordinary and too hard to ever pay off in the bankruptcy. He wanted it gone, but they said no, it's not going anywhere. I support space prison too, because then we never have to hear him again. As long as he doesn't have a microphone in space, okay? Yep. Commander says Alex Jones has also been doing a treason tour by going to Alexander Solyov's Russian propaganda show and spouting. Of course he is. Of course, because that's how he is. He's not loyal. He has no integrity. He's no morals. He's not for the United States. He doesn't he's claiming First Amendment rights here and there, right? But they don't give you the right to torture people for cruelty. They don't give you the rights to deny facts. It doesn't give you there's some accountability with the First Amendment. He's lower than a snake's genitals. Exactly. Exactly. And he's got like the size of a pea brain right there next to it. All right. I do agree. I think that he should go to debtor. We used to have a thing called debtor's prison, but I don't think we do anymore. It's going to be a thing. Space prison is going to be a thing. I do believe. I think we do need an exile space prison. Y'all are giving me ideas here now. Yeah, you are. All right. Is that okay? I think we've all ranted enough about Alex Jones. I give you. Yeah, let's just take a moment. I need a moment. I need a moment before we get on to the next one because this one is heartbreaking. So heartbreaking for me. And I'm going to share a few things for you. First, I did promise you some links to Keffe D, didn't I? For those Okay, let me just spout these first. Okay, if you open these news articles, there are actually some interviews here from both Ross Goodman and from Steve Wolfson. All right. And I thought it was interesting. And there was also like the press release and all with the information. It was some good stuff. And I wanted you to see how they were talking about it. Okay. And now the whole history of the Alex Jones saga is here and what the actual court said. This fourth article is the Alex Jones. And the reason I'm doing that is because when we get into this next case, there's a lot of information. And I just, want to make sure this is all documented well for everybody. Not bringing up my pen today, because I don't want to write all over these documents. This next case is heartbreaking. You all, if you pay attention to the media at all lately, then you have heard that Joran Von Der Sloot was here in America, and that Natalee Halloway's parents have finally got some justice, some little bit. Okay. And I say that because like the dad made a very strong statement and I agree with him. The mom is just happy to have this over and to know that he's being penalized even more. Well, let me bring up Natalee as a courtesy. This is one of the last photos of Natalee before she went on her trip to Aruba in 2005. Oh, yeah. I'm going to bring up that article too because I don't want to misspeak. 2005 in a year. She was just graduated. She's just under 18. She hadn't even turned 18 yet. She's going on a trip with friends to Aruba, and she was drinking in a bar, went walking on a beach, with admittedly all along, Joran Von Der Sloot has admitted that he saw her, and he was probably the last one to see her alive. Well, previously, his statements had all said that he was, that he left her there alive, and he didn't have anything to do it. You know. Hey, Chris Lundy, nice to see you. Welcome. I loved your Halloween candy comment. I totally agree with you too. Totally agree with you. Yeah. Anyway, so Van der Sloot is in jail in Peru, in a Peruvian jail, okay, for another murder of a young woman, the Miss Flores, who he killed and was prosecuted against. And he's serving quite a lengthy sentence there. And Peru sent him over here to actually, deal with this. He is dealing with the federal investigators and the criminal crimes, but it wasn't for the murder of Natalee Halloway. Sometime during the investigation and years later, Van der Sloot is being accused of contacting the family's attorney to request money for the location of the body. He sent it, it was in the news, it was really reported on quite a bit. He actually said the body was behind some house somewhere, and then he said it was like in another place. And anyway, it was all lies, and he never did it. He never actually gave them the actual location of the body because now we know. Now we know after his statements, in order to plea for these extortion charges, he got another 20 years. He got another 20 years in his sentencing, added to the 28 years that he was serving in Peru. And it will go after he gets done in Peru. Okay, then he will go to Aruba and he will serve his 20 years there. Aruba has the press charges. Now, in the United States, in many of the states, we don't have a statute of limitations on murder. But in Aruba, the statute of limitations is 12 years. And so that makes a bit of a problem. Okay. He confessed as part of a plea deal to extortion charges here in the US. The parents have issued heartbreaking statements. Well, here's the clincher. Based on his statements that he made on this plea deal for extortion, because he actually admits, and I'm going to give you my Google link right here to my drive, which has his actual statement, has copies of the parents' statements, has his original indictment in 2010 where he got off because there wasn't enough information to prosecute him in Aruba. And then also it has the sentencing requirement. It has what he actually said. And I'm just going to put it in a nutshell. He says that he was kissing her. She said no. She didn't want to go further. He got mad, punched her in the face, knocked her out, got even more mad because she was unconscious, and hit her in the face with the cinder block, which he describes as crushing her face in. Then he says he half walked, half dragged, carried her body like waist up into the ocean and let her drift away. Quote, all of that is so sad. It's horrible. That is the reason we don't have a body. That is the reason that the Halloways have gone all this time. Now, he's known that from day one. He has known that from day one. He's been convicted of murder already, and in a jail, his life was over. Why could he not give these parents peace? He didn't. Well, this Joran Van Der Sloot is not a good person. Do you know he's married someone while in jail and then dumped her for a prettier, younger version? He has been writing women. He's got naked pictures all over his cell. It's like his attorney was actually bragging about what kind of a suave cavalier he is. But I got to tell you, he looks like crap, you know. And one of the best things that I read was in the Hollowell statement when the mom turned to him after her victim statement and she said, Joran, you look like crap. But I hope you remember every day that you're a murderer. Every time that cell door climbs, I hope you remember that. You're never going anywhere. Like, she got to say that. And I'm happy for her in that way. Not that she lost her daughter, but that she got to address her killer for the scum that he is. He's disgusting. He's known, here's the thing. He was a minor at the time. He was only 17. They were both 17 at the time. This young man started not even as an adult, as a cold-blooded killer just because someone told him no. This man does not deserve to ever see the light of day again. He took the life of Miss Flores also in Peru. He was arrested there. He used the money to leave Aruba because of all the investigation that he extorted from the Hollowells. He just did it to get money so he could leave the country. It's disgusting. He hurts people on purpose for his own benefit. And just for the word no, a young, beautiful woman. I really feel for the family. I do. I really do. But when you see and you read the statements of the Hollowells, this Dan Hollowell and his wife, and there are pictures where she's actually smiling again because she got to address him. And that is just, to me, like, incredible that they got to do that. Incredible that they did. But I'm going to just read a couple of her statements. Not her whole statement. I've left it for you to go through the whole thing. Okay. Well, Dave and Beth Hollowell on Joran Van Der Sloot admitting to kill their daughter. Okay. They said in court that they wish that they could give Van Der Sloot the maximum prison time possible. He did get 20 years. And according to how things are going, he's not going to get out until 2043 if he gets out then. Because Aruba, where the crime was committed, has asked for all the court documents of this plea. That since he has admitted it, that there may be extenuating circumstances because she was a minor when it happened. and because he misled the police, that they may be able to find a way to prosecute him, even though the statute of limitations is only 12 years. What he did was heinous, and he knew that the information he was giving when he extorted her was a lie, and he toyed with the family and played with them for money. Mm. It's 18 years since that happened. 18 years. But because there's a 12-year statute of limitations in Aruba, he felt secure that he wouldn't face murder charges by confessing, and he used it as a way to get less of a sentence here. But they cleverly decided that he would have to tell the truth, and he may have just added more trouble to him. This was from Beth Holloway's statement. Today, I can tell you with certainty that after 18 years, that as far as I'm concerned, Natalee's case is solved. It's over. Joran Von Der Sloot is no longer the suspect in my daughter's murder. He is the killer. She said it's been a very long and painful journey, but we finally got the answer we've been searching for all these years. We finally got justice for Natalee. That was from Beth. But Dave Holloway, he released a statement stating that he has been asked what he would consider judges for his daughter to look like. And he said, I have come to realize is the impossibility of having what this man took from us restored. And over time, I have found some level of peace and acceptance of that reality. But this man is evil personified. We are living every parent's nightmare, today and every day. Please hug your children in honor and loving memory of our daughter, Natalee Ann Halloway. We have received some justice. And it's that word some that keeps hanging me up because it doesn't seem fair that this is all they get. But they did get something, and I am happy, at least for that, for them, as we should be, all of us. Yeah. But to actually be able to have that press conference after, with him going back in shackles again, with more time on his head, getting to see how horrible he looked, that had to feel a little bit better. I mean, she got to look at him in the face and say that he looked like shit. And as a parent, I gotta say that probably was a very good thing for her, you know. Well, as I take questions, instead of putting Joran up, I want to put Natalee and her mom up and honor the justice that they got. Well, let me look for the questions. Hello, Paula. Does the statute of limitations apply if the courts have issued a warrant before the 12 years limit? That is a very good question because of the charges in 2010 do take 5 years off, but it's 18 years. That still would only be 17 if we do that. And so it's a 1 year difference. What they're looking at is some of the loopholes against crimes against minors, which may have no statute of limitations. In many countries and in many states here in the United States, crimes against children can be actually prosecuted when those children are adults. There has been much legislation done about it. And I think that's the avenue they're looking at because everything I read, they keep mentioning the fact of how old she was and that she was a minor and not legal in that country. And neither was he. Okay, but since he wasn't either, does that protect him? I don't know. The violence of the crime may push him as being tried as an adult. And then the other loophole would be the crime being committed against a minor. Well, that's what they're looking at. And I do hope Aruba does add more justice for the Holloways. Not that I want them to keep going through a trial, not that I want them to keep coming up. Let Aruba do it on their own for him making such a mockery of their justice system all along. Hopefully contempt of court, hopefully lying to the press. Anything that they can add, just keep tacking it on because he's a mockery to the system. He has made a mockery of the system, you know. I was in Aruba a few years before this happened and drank at the same bar. Yeah. And it's like, it's not really the bar's fault or anything, I don't think. Like, right? Chris, is a beautiful place. And it's a horrible tragedy what happened. She should have been able to have her trip and come back for not the evilness of a man like Joran Von Der Sloot, which I can't even call that a man. It is a shame, though, that some people harm other people for no good reason. That's right, Commander. For the word no. A young woman has a right to say no. It's true, Mrs. Cassandra. They never got to lay her to rest. She doesn't get to go home to Alabama in any sense. She never went home. All her friends, her family, they had to say goodbye in the weirdest of ways because they didn't want to put it to rest right away, did they? They didn't know. So it took so long, so long. And that's a shame. And the wounds have been open all this time. So if anything, the statements from the Halloways themselves show that they're willing to put some of this aside for now and start the healing process as best they can. But no parent should ever have to go through this. It is true that they hurt each other at all. That people have ill intent towards each other is one of the biggest crimes that hurts my heart regularly. Like, I hear you. I do. Mm. Well, it is. But anyway, they did get their justice. And I'm really pleased for that. I hope that you'll all take the time to read Beth's statement in the Google link. I'll drop it again for anyone who's coming in late. I do hope that this man gets more charges on him. I really do. I hope Aruba does find a way to add things to the case. Okay. And so now there's some other things, that we could. Let me just see. Chris says this story could happen in any resort town like Cancun, Playa del Carmen, or places in the Caribbean. Lots of young folks sowing their oats as easy prey for a psychopath. Actually, yes, we still have the death of Shankila Robinson in Mexico. She went there with her friends, and her friends were probably involved in this, and there still have been no charges. Like, these vacation crimes are horrible. Absolutely horrible. You're there thinking that, everything's just going to be a good time, and it can happen anywhere. You got to stay together. You got to trust the people you're with. But even then, things happen. I mean, we've got children that have gone missing on holidays. We have murders everywhere. Yeah, that's right. Shakina, no charges on her. Nope. There's been the American government has not extradited her to Mexico, and Mexico has not asked for her to be charged. And they say that they are actually still investigating, but nothing has happened on it. I keep following on it. I've been following that case, and I will follow that case until justice is done for her family also, because this is just horrible. In the communication between the two countries is just messed up. And then just saying that these people, they have video of them causing harm to her. I just don't understand it. I know, Beck. It's like they used her to get there and everything. It was like a setup. I don't know what the true deal is, but there's video evidence enough that convinces me that somebody should be paying for this. Absolutely. But it ain't happening. And I don't know why. But we're going to try to find out. Hello, Wrecker. Thank you for the orders and the strawberries. It's nice to see you. I hope you had a good day. The Natalee case was the beginning of many vacation murders. Florida, Aruba, Mexico. It has almost become the norm. It is terrible to hear about, yes. It is. Beth Holloway has been extremely well-spoken, strong, and most of all gracious through all of this. I do, you know what, Kim? This is a solid statement there. This woman was grace. this woman was total grace. And that's why I opened my Google folder for everyone on Van Der Sloot so that you can all read her actual words, read the sentencing requirements from the government and how hard they wanted to go on them, and then to read Joran's own words, as awful as they were. I don't want to give him notoriety as speaking them in full. I could have brought my pen out and circled and drew all kind of expletives all over what he said, but I really don't feel he should get that kind of play. I do believe he's evil. I do believe that his life is too cushy where he is in a Peruvian jail with a wife and a girlfriend and all of these things, and a lawyer who thinks it's great that he's a Casanova. I'm just like, what a mockery to the system that is. And I do hope that Aruba, once the Peruvian government is finished with him in the Flores murder, and she also said no, by the way, a young girl who said no, this is what he did. There's probably more. I'm wondering if there's more, you know, because that's just the two we know of. But this is a man who starts that way at 17. Not even a man. I don't know what to call him. Evil. That's about all I can come up with. Just evil. At 17 to do that. Okay? And then to continue on to torture the family, knowing what he did. No accountability, no conscience. How do you sleep at night? Incredible. Well, anyway, couple more questions and then we'll be done for the night. The Shakira case makes no logical sense, especially a physician not being able to properly diagnose her impending death. Exactly. Now, they say that the physician came there, but then there are differences in what they say and what the actual hotel says, and actual the people that actually did the service, like the doctor. It's all been very different in what everybody is saying individually. The girl who was involved, who says she called the doctor in, says she did it at a certain time. It wasn't really possible. The doctor's notes are like they didn't come till after. So it's very, very confusing. I do hope that we get more information. I really do. Well, thank you all for being here. Thank all of you who are members. I hope you saw the members only post in regards to the Discord and the happenings that are going on there. To my moderators, I want to thank you all very much for putting up with my crazy schedule and my lack of communication in the last couple of weeks while I could not decide from day to day if I was going to be able to speak or not on stream. But I think we're going to be back to normal business, at least the best that we can. And I hope that you all have a great night. Tomorrow, I do believe I will be over on Hereticals in the evening. It will be a political type content with Chris, my buddy, my mate from Australia over there. We always have very interesting conversations. I can say, even if it is about politics, that it will be respectful and courteous in that we always have good conversations from both sides. Okay, so it could be entertaining. And then Thursday, I do believe we have the challenge again because we're every other week right now. And I believe this week is up and we're supposed to be doing short stories. Yes, we all have to write our own short story to orate in like a limit of 5 minutes. And well, we'll see how that goes. I hope to see you all there. We've got events on the Discord on Friday, and then on the weekend, we'll be back to the normal stuff. I'm thinking if my voice holds up, we may even do a mayhem on Saturday. It's nice to do a mayhem. I will be putting the content link back up for voting on the back of the community, on the community tab on the back of my channel. And also note that you can add answers when you're voting if you didn't get a chance to find it because it got buried from a couple weeks ago, based on my inactivity here, not being out here online. You can add your answers to that. So don't. I'll put the instructions on the link. That'll be coming out either later tonight or tomorrow. And on that, Everybody have a good night. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for the well wishes and for greeting me back. It was really warm and wonderful to see you guys here. And thank you, Juju. It is heartbreaking. Yeah, it's heartbreaking, even if the topic is heartbreaking. Thank you for the way you cover. Thank you, Juju. That means a lot to me. And thank you, Mrs. Cassandra. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Hit that like and subscribe. You heard her. You better do what Mrs. Cassandra says. You better. You better, everybody. You know. Have a good night, everyone.